the MRI. So yeah, just went in thinking we'll get a MRI and, they won't find anything, and then I'll have to go to this nerve testing. And I was like, I don't want to do that because it involves a lot of needles and stuff like that. So I was like, ugh, that sounds awful. So I went into the MRI, and then I sort of started to think something was wrong again. Because when I went into the MRI and had to lay flat, my whole body went numb. I don't think I've laid flat on my back for a long time, and I was like, oh. And I had to readjust several times because the way I was laying that I thought was straight wasn't quite straight, and I was like, well, that's weird because I felt straight. So I wasn't super confident after the MRI that things were quite right. I still didn't connect the dots, though. I was like, that was hard to do that MRI. My hand went super more numb up the arm, and my feet went numb, and there was a lot of numbness, and I was just very surprised by that. So I thought, oh geez, maybe they're gonna find a really, a slip disc or a pinched nerve of some type. So I went home thinking, oh geez, MRI results. You're lucky if you hear anything within a week. That's how it is. They kind of go into the fax machine, and then you don't hear for a while. So I came home. I had that day off. I think the kids were at daycare that day, and I got a phone call about an hour after the MRI, and that's when I saw it. I think it had my doctor's name on it, and I was like, oh, that's not good. So it's the dreaded answering the phone. So I said, hello. And my doctor's very, very fast talking when she's nervous, and I know that because I work with her, and when she'd get nervous or excited or, something was a little bit out of the ordinary, she would talk really fast. So she talked really fast. She said, well, the good thing, it's not cancer. And I hadn't even thought about that. I was like, oh man, it could have been cancer. But that's what she said. It's not cancer. But you do have something called Chiari malformation with an associated syrinx, which I am a nurse, so that should make sense to me, but I had no clue what she was talking about. I was like, and then she went on shortly after to explain that a Chiari malformation is where the back of your brain, which is called the cerebellum, there's little tonsils on it that extend. They're not supposed to extend, but in my case, they extend down into the spinal cord, right where the spinal cord is, where the brainstem is, and it blocks the spinal fluid from flowing properly. And so this is an issue because if it's blocked, it creates a fluid-formed cyst type thing called a syrinx, which I had to Google all this. This was even nurse for almost, I think, 7-8 years at that time. I had no clue what any of these words were. So, of course, I was just in shock. I'm like, and then she went on to say, so we'll have to give you a neurosurgeon. And right when you hear neurosurgeon, you're like, what? Surgeon? That's awful. So a lot of information. And so you're like, so she kind of rambled on in her little nervous, doctor way, which I love her, by the way. She's a great doctor, but she just, you can tell when she's nervous and it's out of her realm. She said, so you'll probably have surgery in your possible future. And I'm like, and my husband at the time worked nights, so he was sleeping upstairs. So I was alone when I heard this news, and I was shaken. I was just like, too much information. So I thanked her, and I had her repeat how to spell Chiari, and I had her to repeat how how to spell syrinx, and so I could Google my diagnosis. So that was the beginning.